Welcome to the Albertapreneur Podcast, where we celebrate self-employment in Alberta. I'm your host, Jason Bacon. I'm an author, founder, and longtime lover of entrepreneurship. Through my career, I've been able to advise hundreds of self-employed individuals across the province, and I've always been inspired by their stories. That's where the podcast comes in. We're going to be digging into the stories of those people, and in particular, the graduates of the self-employment training program. For those who don't know, this is a program in partnership with the province of Alberta as well as the government of Canada, and it provides training and support to entrepreneurs who are unemployed or underemployed. And if you qualify for funding, it won't cost you anything but time. You may even receive funding while you take it. In particular, this podcast is focused on the graduates of the ExecuServe Plus training program in Lethbridge. They've been graduating entrepreneurs for more than 20 years and continue to do so. Something that I always say, and is the lesson of my book, Entrepreneur-ish, is that entrepreneur is a verb, not a noun. It's not a title, but a set of actions. And it's in that spirit that we're talking about the stories and actions of the people around you who have taken that leap of faith and tried to make it on their own. Let's get to it.
All right, if you hear a buzzing in the background, it is because we've officially started a podcast that I'm very excited about. This was actually a podcast episode that I had in mind since Albertapreneur even started. And I think this conversation is going to be a good one. We have Sarah Christensen with us today, visual arts, and we're going to talk a little bit about her business and her journey, and we're going to get to that in a second. She's one that I came in contact through, and everyone kept telling me I had to have a conversation with her as I was talking to graduates of the program. And when I found out that she did tattoos, I thought this is a perfect opportunity for me to get the tattoo, second tattoo that I've wanted for a little bit now, and have a really cool conversation about entrepreneurship. So as we're working through what the title of today is going to be, we came down to, and I think it's one of my favorite titles so far, A Flock of Fools. And Sarah, welcome to the Albertapreneur Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Absolutely. So I want to dive right into it. As we know, you're a graduate of the self-employment program, right?
Yeah, I am.
So why don't we talk a little bit about your story? Let's start with, where were you beforehand? Like, have you always been an entrepreneur? Where were you before you took a leap into the program itself?
Oh, yes. I was born an entrepreneur. It runs in my family. My grandparents were entrepreneurs. They had their own dairy business that they worked in service barns in Saskatchewan.
Right.
Yeah, it was really cool. So I grew up like watching my dad go out on errands and helping my grandparents with one of my favorite things to do, which is inventory.
Yeah, totally.
And before I started at ExecuServe, I was working retail, and I was a little bit of a Robin Hood. So if there was coupons, hey, everybody got them.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the upper management didn't really quite like that. So when they let me go, I decided, you know what? Maybe it's time I do what I really, really want to do, and learn how to tattoo.
Yeah.
So
you've been an artist for some time before that?
Yeah. I remember being right before kindergarten started, and I was sneaking into the art supplies my mom bought, like crayons, and I take them out of the box and give each one a test and then put them back like nothing had happened.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Yeah. Art supplies are life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so how did you even find out about the self-employment program?
Oh, I had a friend who was an entrepreneur tell me about it a long time ago. And a couple of people that I knew have taken it as well. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah.
And it was actually my third time that I had applied.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and each time, Lee at the time was like, nope, go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And so I went, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad, because she knew exactly what she was talking about. And I was lucky to have been guided, because I wouldn't have wanted to waste my shot on something that wasn't really where my heart was.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, that even to an extent ties into what we were talking about. You were kind of, those first couple of times, maybe being a little bit foolish in terms of wanting to take that leap, but maybe not quite ready yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. And so you, got hooked up with a company that helped you to apprentice with tattoos.
I did, yeah. My friend Curtis Mueller, who also had gone through the program as well, to start his business, JD Body Arts. And I was there working front desk reception, and I knew I really wanted to be a tattoo artist. I had wanted to be a tattoo artist ever since I was a kid, and admiring all my mom's tattoos and their friends' tattoos, and anywhere I could see them, I wanted more. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So he tells you about the program, you have this other friend, and you end up taking it luckily and being able to kind of kickstart your own business. What was that like?
It was so crazy. Because I went in there, I wasn't yet a tattoo artist. I hadn't even gotten agreements from my mentor to start, right? Like it was just very much like a whim, but I knew that this was it. And I think they could see it too, and that's why they took that risk with me. And here I am, right? It's like over 5 years later, and I have my own studio.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, and we said that, and it's funny because today, the day that we're recording, is the 5-year anniversary of your first tattoo.
That's right.
Yeah, I love it.
To myself 5 years ago today, and haven't looked back.
That takes a special kind, I think, to give themselves a tattoo.
Yes, it's required though. It's part of the training.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. And so you take that leap, you take the training. Let's talk about that training a little bit. What was your biggest takeaway when you took that self-employment training?
Oh, the funding at the immediate thing, it was really, really everything I needed, because as you know, like when you start an apprenticeship to become a tattoo artist, it costs you. And as a single mom with a brand new baby and 2 teenagers, I really, really, really needed that support. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have been able to get to where I am today.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that, because I think that the funding is one of the areas that honestly we haven't really even talked a lot about yet on the podcast. There's the training, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I know, like, speaking from my experience, and I so relate to that idea of, but I have a family, I have kids that I need to feed. I have all of these other responsibilities, all these other things that I need to do, right? Yeah. And having that runway, for those that don't know, just as that quick little asterisk, if you qualify for funding of the self-employment program, you can continue to get paid EI through the program, even if your business makes money, and that continues into the support period as well. So that idea of, hey, I can have that runway while I test my business model, while it interacts with the market, right? Yeah. That type of thing, it can help to mitigate that risk a little bit, right?
It was, without it, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I still probably would have done it, but I would have been a lot more at risk,
Totally.
And
totally.
And I think it's really important to have that type of support, right? When you're branching out into already an area where people aren't really going to look at it and go, "Oh yeah, that's a smart idea," right?
Right, and that to an extent ties into what we were saying with the title, right? Is you get those people that look at you and they're like, "Are you a fool? Go and get a job. Go and do this other thing."
Why do you always gotta have those lofty ideas?
Get out of here with those thinking ideas, right? Yeah. I that really speaks to me, and I know that we had talked about even past the funding. Well, there was another kind of component of that training that you kind of utilized and helped you out. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Having the support and the cheerleading of the people who work there has been amazing. Darlene, she has made everything in my world. Just that much better. And having Jillian there, and knowing that if I came across anything, I could call them up. But I hadn't really needed to yet. So, but then when I started branching out into my own space, out from the contract position I had with Jaded, I really needed to be able to lean back to where it came from, right? And it was really nice to know that everyone was there and still cheering me on and able to answer my questions.
So let's go even back to that moment in your story, right? Because so you've taken the training, you are an apprentice, you are getting busier, you have that kind of consistent income that's, hey, these boxes are getting checked, these things are getting filled, these needs are getting filled, and that's a good feeling, right?
It felt great.
Yeah. So then why? Why would you do a foolish thing? Why would you join this flock of fools of entrepreneurs and go out and do your own thing?
It's just where I belong.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah, I just knew that I had outgrown this amazing space where I got my start, and that it was time for me to grow because I was starting to feel like it wasn't the right place for me, and maybe I was taking away from the community that was there too, because I was really headstrong with my own ideas, and the responsible thing to do was to go make my own space where I fit in.
That's interesting, and that idea of if you and I again, like I find that I relate to a lot of these conversations that I have, but that idea of I don't quite fit in here, or I think that I can do it different in a way that's truer to me, right?
Yeah,
I love that.
authenticity, gotta be yourself.
Yeah,
That's what sells.
So how do you do that though? How do you do that when you're facing down the barrel of you do have family, you do have kids, you do have, you know, all of these other aspects to your life? How do you reconcile that? And how do you stay true to yourself?
Well, if I didn't, I would have self-destructed, right? If there's that outlet that needs to be found and honored. And as an entrepreneur, like I just needed to be able to find my own way, because my kids would suffer if I wasn't making the right choices for me, right? And I want them to look up to me and see that, you know, even in the face of adversity, it's okay to go for your dreams, right?
Yeah. I love that, and I would say even it's especially in the face of adversity that you need to pursue those dreams, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
It's not like it's been easy since I opened either, right? Because we did so in a pandemic. And
was your industry impacted at all by that pandemic?
Oh yeah, totally. Shut down.
Yeah, because we didn't even really talk about that. You took the training in 2016.
Yeah.
And so the pandemic hits, and it was in the middle of the pandemic that you decided to branch out, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was when I was like, oh, everyone's changing, including myself. And I gotta honor that. It was scary, and I didn't know what I was gonna do.
So what did that look like? You have those people around you that are like, what are you doing? There is at least some consistency in what you're doing. You're foolish. You're going out on your own, but you do it anyway. So what did that look like?
It looked like, what did it look like? I left and I jumped and I found myself serendipitously in a new space that was actually something I had rented like 17 years prior.
Wow.
So yeah.
And how did you find that space?
Oh, I found it by going and having my hair done by my friend Joanne over at Catwalk.
Yeah.
Another awesome business in town. And she was listening to my story, and I was like, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I know I don't fit in anymore. I've outgrown the place I came from. And I need to find something, but how do I find it? She said, Sarah, you need to call Jackie. I was like, who's Jackie? She's like, Jackie, she bought Rick's building. And I'm like, wait, my building, Rick's building?
Yeah.
So it was like coming home.
Yeah.
And that made me feel like I was on the right path. You know, it made me think that this wasn't the biggest mistake of my life. You know, maybe it wouldn't work out, but I needed to try. I needed to like lean into that. And it just seemed like a really good calculated risk.
Yeah. And it ended up being, so you say it's a calculated risk, and I love that differentiation. So how was it calculated?
Well, it was a space I knew, I was familiar with. It was low overhead. It was a supportive landlord. Oh my gosh, find a good landlord. That's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, I love that idea of the supportive land. You found the fools that spoke your language.
Yes, I did. I totally did.
Yeah,
I didn't even know her, and we like spent the first meeting on the phone for 4 hours, just chatting, just gabbing about business ideas and passions and dreams, and it was a good fit, really good fit.
Yeah, and so you kind of, and I find that is a recurring theme that's come through all these episodes, is the idea of, whether you want to call it serendipity, as you put it, or kismet, or the idea that you don't realize which components of your past are going to be the stepping stones to your future again, maybe, right?
Yeah.
The idea that, hey, this space that you were in 17 years ago, now it's come back full circle, and now it has this incredible partner in place. And, you know, we talked about that authenticity.
Yeah.
And what I find is this recurring theme with these entrepreneurs that I'm talking to that carry that weight of authenticity, is what I'll call it.
Yeah.
That
Good way to describe it.
They're real. They just tell their stories. They're open. They're honest. They have these different people that they open up to that can maybe make those connections, and then they're open to seeking those connections. Right?
Yeah.
They find their flock of fools. Right?
Yes, totally. It's like, oh, I'm not alone. Like, we're all alone together. You know?
And
Yeah.
it feels that way. This whole journey, you know, and I think there are a lot of people out there that also feel that, like, hey, there is nobody that can relate to me, right?
Yes.
But there is. It's just a matter of finding them. Right?
Yeah.
It's this irony of ironies that we're in this world populated by more people than have ever been here before, and we feel lonelier than ever before. Often, right?
Yeah.
Especially when we're doing
Doom
our own
scroll.
journey. Yeah,
Right?
doom scroll. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's been so nice because I look around and every day, like, there's hard days, right? Where it's like, what am I doing? Am I a fool? Like, should I have gotten the McDonald's job? You know? But it's a brief passing through my mind. So, you know, they fire me in a heartbeat. I've got too many ideas and I just want to fit in. Like,
It's that definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's the beauty about this business. Like, I have an unending supply of ideas, right?
Yeah.
And so here I can try them out. I can say, oh, does that work? You know, like, I have this really great deal on crystals. Should I sell some crystals? You know?
Yeah, totally.
And it's a passion of mine too. So I just get to, like, kind of see what I can come up with. And then my clients and guests let me know if it's a good idea or not.
Can you say that one more time? Your clients and guests let you know whether it's a good idea or not?
Yeah.
I think that is such a great lesson to take away for anyone else. Like, you know, put that as a quote, because I say that all the time, is you have as much power as a surfer on a wave when you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, totally.
You control where you put the board and how you ride it. The power's with the wave. And that's your market. And when you understand who that market is, because you connect with them, you talk to them, maybe you're a part of that market, right?
Yeah.
You find ways to talk to them that makes them not feel like fools, or at least fools that are maybe a part of it.
Not alone. Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, we're all here together.
And then you learn from them and understand that, hey, some things work and some things don't, right?
Yeah.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about what you do have going on right now, because I do want to touch a little bit.
Right. So when I first opened the space up, it's because I needed somewhere to unfold. I needed to know who I was and how I worked and what made me happy and healthy and strong.
Yeah.
And then by doing that, I ended up having people come to me that were looking for the same thing, right? They knew that they didn't fit where they were, but they wanted something different. And I didn't anticipate that that's what was going to be happening. I didn't know I'd have other tattoo artists. I didn't know that my mentor was going to join me. Like, whoa, that's a fairy tale. You know, it feels like magic. So,
but it wouldn't have happened if you didn't put yourself out there.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And getting comfortable maybe sometimes in being that person that does feel foolish, and being comfortable with that. Because if you don't put it out there, how is that person going to know that, hey, maybe this is an option for me?
Right, totally. Yeah, so it's like, I really feel honored to be a beacon. You know, I've always stood out anyway. Might as well make it work for me instead of against me.
Yeah, I love that.
But so here we've got two other tattoo artists. One is Steve Kumoto, and he taught me how to tattoo over at Jaded.
Yeah.
And then he also found that it wasn't the same place that he thought it was for him, and he needed to kind of grow too. Yeah. So I watched his art. I was like, oh wow, like he's just making these amazing tufted rugs, which we're having an art opening. Nobody knows this. This hasn't been announced. Guess what? We're starting an art gallery.
Wow. And I love that. Like, that's the idea that this space, and we'll get to where your space is, because I want to make sure that we capture that. But the idea that you have found this flock that you understand, and it's more than just tattoos. You know, yes, you are that business owner that is doing tattoos, but also you have a space that now is for other tattoo artists, and also this art gallery. And you've mentioned these crystals, and you have this whole idea of who this subculture is, and the value that you can create for them, which is an experience that maybe they can't get somewhere else, right?
Yeah, and that's, you know, and with tattooing, that's what it is, right? It's an experience.
Yeah. So how did you evolve it to that?
I just kept waking up every day. I and I just kind of like paid attention to the little symbols and signs throughout the world that kind of just led me this way and that way. Yeah.
How do you pay attention to those signs, though? That's something that we say a lot.
Right.
But what is it that you do that lets you be able to pay attention to those signs?
Does it spark joy? No, just kidding. It's one of those things where, does it bring like enthusiasm? Does it bring good feelings? Does it feel like it makes me want to be alive? Yeah. Okay, then let's explore that. Right.
Really cool.
Yeah. Being an entrepreneur, mainly serving the community, right? It's like leaning into.
But not the whole community, right?
No, not the whole community. Serving my community.
Yeah.
Which, unfolds and is discovered as I step out and stand, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know what's coming. I just have to take those leaps of faith, which is why I kind of refer to myself as a fool, right?
I love it. So I call it in my book the entrepreneurial constant, and it's the leap of faith. It is what has tied every entrepreneur together since the dawn of time.
Right.
And I love that, the idea that it's a bunch of little micro leaps even that you're doing constantly, right? And all coming from a place of that I could never find that box I fit in.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very common thing in today's world, right? Where people do feel that in that isolation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So, one thing that I'm very interested in is, anyone out there, because I think that we're on that verge of people just saying, whether it's that great resignation or the idea that they just want to do their own thing, and the economy and not even the economy, technology in the world's well set up for that, right?
Yeah.
So what would be your piece of advice to those people that maybe they feel foolish, maybe they feel like they can't do it, maybe they feel like it's not necessarily meant for them or it's too much risk? What would be your piece of advice to them?
Do it anyway. Find your weird, be your weird self, and just get out there, because chances are we're all waiting for you to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I didn't even really think about this theme and everything like that. And I'll post pictures, but what I'm getting tattooed right now on my arm is a beholder from Dungeons and Dragons. And when you talk about find your weird and embrace your weird, I played Dungeons and Dragons for 20 years, and I'm very lucky to have played with the same group of friends. I found my flock of fools. And, and shout out to the guys, and some are newer and some are older, but it's the idea of they are that group that I know that I can always go to, especially, they understand, they're dads, they're people, they're very genuine individuals, right? And I don't think that I would have been able to do what I do without people like that. And obviously people like my wife and my family and things like that, right? Yeah. But it's the idea that maybe different people support you in different ways too.
Yeah. Totally.
Fascinating. I love it. Well, I think that this is close to the end of our conversation here. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
Oh, my pleasure. I have had such a great time getting to know you and tattooing you. Fun.
It's been really good. And we're honestly almost done even. Yeah. Which I'm super excited for. Like I said, I will post on social media so you can see the final results here. But thank you again, Sarah. And before we go, though, where can they find you if they want to get hold of you?
Yeah.
So in the true nature of this conversation, things have changed since Sarah and I last had a conversation. And so I wanted to edit this in real quick and ask again, Sarah, tell us what happened real quick and where can we find you in visual arts?
Well, our new location is 604 3rd Avenue South, right across from SAG, next door to Pita Pit and the Owl. We're so excited because, as luck has it, the very next day I was offered a beautiful prime location and I couldn't refuse. So I decided to jump off that cloud and into tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that. And just have a conversation with someone you knew, opened yourself up, and suddenly the opportunity presented itself. I love it. And thank you once again, Sarah. We're going to post through on Albertapreneur as well. So maybe take some pictures. She's on this Friday is opening up officially. So we'll get some pictures out there and reshare from her Instagram as well. Thank you, listeners, so much. And we'll see you next week. If you or anyone that you know could benefit from the self-employment training program, please connect them with us or ExecuServe Plus. The best way probably is to visit the Albertapreneur website or just call ExecuServe at 403-320-5604. One of the things that I'm fond of saying is that an entrepreneur does, on average, 7 jobs in their business. One of those is marketing, but it's something that business owners struggle with, especially in the digital age. So if you need assistance, the Digital Service Squad may be able to help you out. Available to business organizations all across Alberta, as long as you're registered in the province, have between 0 and 49 employees, the Digital Service Squad will connect you with experts one-on-one and pay for up to 5 hours of support, whether it's search engine optimization, website design, social media marketing, or an overall overview of what you do for that digital side of your business. If you're in the Lethbridge region and you're interested in the Digital Service Squad, you can go to Community Futures Lethbridge website, fill out a form, and get connected with those experts today. You don't have to go it alone.